Hi guys, this is Keerthana, and we are having here a very interesting guest who is an amazing role model to me. Her name is Shiny, and she's a sports nutritionist, also the founder of Art of Eating, and she's just an amazing person as such. Before being a sports nutritionist, she's inspired me and many others in very different ways, and I'm very happy to have her here at the Performance Podcast. And today's conversation is going to be super interesting because the first thing is she inspired me to take up sports psychology. I remember the first time I met her was in Maverick Gym. I was a young kid, and I remember her sitting with the spoons, which I remember her asking me, how much rice do you eat? And that's the one thing I remember. That's the first thing I remember. And even when I wanted to take sports psychology, she's the one who really supported me through the journey. So thank you so much for that, and also for being here with us today.
Such a pleasure being here. Thanks for the invitation. Of course, to you and Harini. Really very happy to see from where you started and where you are now. And in fact, this year when you had invited me to INSPA, the conference, it was amazing. It was such a proud moment to see the school kid who started on her journey of fitness, went ahead to become a marathon runner, and then went to Loughborough to study Masters in Psychology, and then having your own setup, the Performance Doctor Clinic, which is an amazing place, a whole bunch of fantastic professionals working together. And I think very proud of you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's start. I'm just going to dive in and ask you the question. I know as a sports nutritionist, again, sports nutrition is not very old. It's just a few years. I think sports psychology is just a few years behind sports nutrition. So I think when I just started sports psychology, no one heard of it. But sports nutrition was just at that point picking up, right? So being a sports nutritionist, what are the challenges you think you face when athletes come to you? What are the trends you see? Because let's say for me, at least, when a person comes here for sports psychology, they think they have to come in only when they have a problem. I'm sure there are such trends and stigmas, right? So what is it? What have you seen?
You were right when you said psychology as it was coming into the scene in India. Sports nutrition had made its own space, but then again it took a very long time to get here. It all started way back in 97, 98, and one sports physician, that's Dr. Kannan Pugarendi, was the one who introduced this concept to me. And he said, as I was just doing my master's, the first year of PG, and he happened to had just completed sports medicine in Australia, and he said, in the country we don't have people who are specialized in sports nutrition. Why don't you focus in that area, and in the next 5 years you would be known for your expertise. And I took that up very seriously, and I'm sure it has helped making athletes understand just by eating right you can enhance your sports performance. And the challenges that you asked is meaning from the experience of working in YMCA, the students who come from all districts, and they're more comfortable speaking in the regional language. They don't have big budgets. They only eat what is easily available to them, and then what is provided in the hostel. So we've worked with them, really the ones who really have a major financial crunch, and then trying to give the best what is available locally. And another thing is, over the years, what you've seen is the biggest challenge is people don't understand boundaries, and then there's every individual who talks about nutrition. Yeah, so dietetics, therapeutic dietetics, as well as sports.
Yes.
We study a lot of science behind it, So there's physiology, microbiology, biochemistry, organic chemistry, and physics, and everything. So, and an in-depth understanding, and that too when you study for 5 years and continuously keep looking at your research articles, and that's how you grow,
Yeah.
right, as a professional. And just like when you feel that, hey, I seem to know it all, and then there comes a client who
Has something new.
something new, something challenging, and it's like, oh my God, I still have so much to learn, and that humbles you. So, and it's a never-ending process. Like though I've been practicing for 25 years, it's just that unless, of course, either a doctor or else a physiotherapist, because an athlete sees the fitness professional, that is a strength and conditioning coach, every single day, and then during injury, the physiotherapist, and of course the doctor. So unless these three understand the importance nutrition and recommend or refer, the athlete themselves
Don't really come.
Don't really come.
Yeah.
And the lines are like very, very, how do I say, it's very blurred. The fitness trainer or perhaps even the physiotherapist giving inputs on nutrition actually could be very, very marginal, superficial. But then there's a lot more. There is so many layers to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know. And speaking of the boundaries and the different roles that different people play, I've also seen many coaches tell me that we prepare food at home, so I'm the nutritionist here and things like that. I don't think they know the depths of it. And I've also seen, as you mentioned, strength and conditioning coaches just give people, references to this protein shake is something you can take and all of that, right? So speaking of all that, can you tell me is there any possibility of sports scientists working together? Do you think it's important? And if yes, how do we do it? Because the narrative that we are trying to build here, Harni and I, both of us, we always like to collaborate rather than compete. But at the same time, we can't really breach boundaries, right? So what do you think about it?
Okay, so I worked in Ramchandra Medical College, right? So that is Sri here. Sri Ramchandra Institute of Higher Education and Research in Ayapandangal. And over there's a sports medicine department, and I worked there as a lecturer for a good 7-8 years. And our HOD is Dr. Armugam, and that is the director of the sports center is Dr. Armugam, and the HOD being Dr. Tyagarajan. And I had a fantastic experience working there, and we all worked together as a team.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful because even during lunch, we'll just pick up one tough case, and then all of us will give our inputs. And then by the time we finish lunch, we know what to do. The plan of action is set. Yeah. So there's this sports physician, and they were also students of MD in sports medicine, the physiotherapist being there, strength and conditioning coach, and the dietitian. So, and of course, even the biomechanics expert will come in sometimes when we really need inputs from them. So if there is one case, then you have this entire team sitting there and giving inputs, and it's remarkable. And we also respect each other.
Yeah.
And there are things that we don't know. We think we might, but then we really don't know to that extent, to that level. And even I think each professional also evolves, with several years of experience and the number of cases that they have seen and what book teaches you. So when I was in college as a student of nutrition, the books that were given to us were all Western.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And what grows here in India, in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai, right?
It's right.
It's right here. So locally, the dynamics are very different. And in a Western world, the dynamics there, their family, and the equation with the coach or the strength and conditioning specialist, and everything is so very different. So, but you learn theory from there, but then you will have to bring it to this Indian context. And I think that's the most important. So as localites, what we try to do, I think in all our professions, is take those principles and see how best we can integrate it here.
Understand.
And it is very important to pick each other's brains because the things that you can do for the goodness or for helping the athlete to excel, it's like amazing. If you were to work in isolation, these kind of breakthroughs can't happen. Yeah, and that's what I like. Like as you mentioned, like you and Harni are very particular about working together as a team, and how it's not about competing, but about collaborating. And that's exactly what I'm seeing a lot in this generation, which is amazing. Because earlier when I started my career, I have seen so many people who had major insecurities. Even when you were to ask any doubts, you'll just get very little information and then they will quickly move away and you wouldn't get a complete answer. But then these days it's not that, so I think that's the most amazing thing about your generation. Is awesome.
I'm glad. I'm glad to know that, and I'm glad to see more and more people actually collaborate rather than compete. Because I think sports community as such, we're actually quite small compared to the other communities.
True.
And all of us know each other, and if we are not here to help each other out, then who else will? That's when the unqualified people actually come in and they end up taking the space. And I think at the end of the day, we are helping the athletes and we want our athletes to do really, really well. And we're here for them. So, yeah, I'm so glad to hear that, it's a lot more collaborative than competition, at least right now. Yes. So moving to the next question, I think this is more from the sports psychology perspective, if not sports psychology, just the psychological perspective. I know we work a lot together, and there are times when you've mentioned, once or twice that the person may require a little bit of psychological intervention, not in a clinical way, but more in a just in terms of conditioning, in terms of stereotypes or what beliefs that they have. So I'd like to understand a little more about that because, a lot of people don't really link sports nutrition and sports psychology other than the gut brain, that perspective. So they don't look at the habits and the beliefs and the behavior and all of that. So could you just speak a little about that, please?
Sure. I've always believed in psychology. I remember at the age of 26, I went through a heartbreak and my brother took me to a psychologist and that changed my life. Okay, so from then on, at that time or early on, I understood the importance of meeting a psychologist and how that can be a game changer. And mind is everything, right? So there are times that, let me give you examples, wherein, when I was working with a cricketer, this guy used to love filter coffee. And then he would just have so many cups of coffees, like say 6 cups, or maybe easily on an average 4. Okay, and this is something that was a go-to for him. Yeah. But then we also found that the milk there was not suiting him, and he had a spate of injuries, and we look at the gut connection to inflammation. Okay, so this can lead to a lot of injuries because of very high inflammatory markers in the bloodstream. And the only thing that he had to shift was, give up on milk and milk products, and that truly helped. It brought down his injury risk and a lot of other factors. He felt a lot better, comfortable. His gut was also behaving well. And that actually helped him with his cognitive function as well. Because if you have a stomach upset, there are times that you can end up with a headache.
Absolutely.
In case, say for instance, you're in a flight and you want to use the washroom, but then you are not able to, but then you try to hold it. Just imagine, say, in a 3-hour flight, and then you could actually end up with a very throbbing headache, right? Yeah. So, and your gut and your brain keeps, communicating all the time. So the kind of stuff that you put in. Now, if this cricketer had the mindset of like, I can't give up coffee, I've been having it right from childhood, why should I?
Yeah.
But he didn't. He was quite receptive. But if he came from that space of, I will not give up, then he won't have this breakthrough.
Correct.
Earlier on also we have seen that, theory will say that you need to maintain a certain gap between the sport meals and then, a pre-game meal and all that. But we've also seen there were so many people who were into long distance running, but then psychologically they would actually eat. Technically, they're supposed to have at least a 3-hour gap so that the food digests completely. But then we tried it. But the winning formula for that athlete, the track and field athlete, was, no, I need to eat something 1 hour before the event. So he tried the formula where he ate 3 hours before and then later came back to me and said, no, I need to eat it 1 hour before because it's not working for me. It disturbs my mind a lot. Yeah. So we need to look into that aspect. So also in the past, there was a squash player. And for her, it was about pasta.
Yes.
Yeah, that was her winning meal. Yes. And that formula of just eating pasta the day and then going out and playing, and she would always,
works.
It just beautifully works for her. So I think the mindset is very, very, very important. And if we get that aspect right, they are able to, or rather open to receiving information, be it from the strength and conditioning coach, or say physiotherapist, or even the nutritionist. So we need to work together.
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise getting breakthroughs and helping them optimize their performance is going to be a challenge.
Yes, right. Yes, absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think this is something that I think more and more people try to understand this. I think the better and more helpful it would be for both athletes and the professionals themselves.
Why don't you share a story? I would like to know, was there a place wherein, because I've also noticed that people hesitate to go to a psychologist's office.
Oh, absolutely.
If you were to have a standalone counselor's office, psychologist's office, but then that's when I have requested you to visit my clinic, and that helped a lot. Thanks for coming, because there were children, there were others who were very hesitant. They don't mind walking into a dietitian's clinic and then meeting a psychologist.
Absolutely.
And you kind of really helped our clients. So what are the barriers you have seen, and is there anywhere that you have noticed, the diet and the nutrition going hand in hand?
I think it does. I mean, it very much does go hand in hand. So usually what happens is that I've seen a lot of people, there are a lot of barriers when they come to a psychologist, but that's going to be for a different day altogether. But what I have noticed is that a lot of athletes have humongous goals. Every athlete I ask, it's either IPL or Indian team or Olympics or Paralympics, whichever it is, And I don't know whether they know what it takes to get there, right? So what we usually do is we work on something called the goal setting, which is where we break it down into, what are your, physical goals? What are your mental goals? What are your technical goals? What are your other goals? Other goals will include sleep, nutrition, all of that. And if they're working with a nutritionist, then we work with the nutritionist in order for them to write down their nutrition goal. Otherwise, they can tell their own nutrition goal, sleep goal, all of it. And a lot of people don't understand that those goals exist. And it's important for them to even look at it. And when they actually start writing down the process goals, the obstacles, and actually what they need to do, it becomes that simple. And I feel like that habit loop is something that a lot of people haven't really cracked to make sure it is accessible. So for example, I'll give you my example, right? I love filter coffee, love coffee as such. But then very recently, we realized that milk is not suiting me. So, and I love paneer. So, and I realized I'd put on almost 10 kilos and I couldn't run as fast as I could earlier. Because of that. And I realized it's just simply saying yes to all the food they make at home and not being able to carry coffee with me. So I just made a simple change. I started being able to say no, because that is a very psychological thing to do. Just saying no, I cannot eat after 5 p.m. and I will not eat after 5 p.m. no matter how hard it is to say. Say it, not have paneer as much as I used to or I would like to, and pack my coffee every single day. So even now I have my coffee packed and kept there. So it's as simple as that.
This is the oat milk one.
Yeah, this is the oat milk one, exactly. So just making sure that, those habits are built so that I can actually get into the goals that I want to get to. That portion, so making the nutrition work for you is also very important, because as a nutritionist, you might give a diet to them. But if it doesn't work, and most of the time it doesn't work not because of the plan, but because of their inability to actually adhere to the plan.
You're right.
Right?
Yes.
And that adherence is where I work on things. Because again, there is a mind block that I cannot live without coffee.
Yes.
And then, there is an alternative which you could use. And that behavior, that habit, to follow that habit, that to create the new habit of, buying your oat milk, keeping it, all this is additional work for a person who has, normal coffee coming in every day. So making sure all of that is noted down and kept, and breaking that older habit is, I think, where the breakthrough lies. And I think that's where the synergy also lies. Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah. Yes. I think it just flowed. For you, it was so easy. Yeah, because you're a professional. And during consultation, we did discuss about lactose intolerance and how it's so prevalent among our population, but it's just the acceptance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And for you, it was like so easy to glide in, to just completely, make those shifts. But I think a lot of people just struggle
Yes,
because it's
they-
like, I can't give up the most favorite thing, and how dare you ask me to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It's hard for people. Yes, definitely. And I guess that's where the collaboration actually happens. And yes, so with that, I think we wrap up as well. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and insights. And I'm so happy that, we could have this conversation. It's all about changing the narrative that actually is existing right now, breaking those stereotypes. And who said that nutritionists, sports medicine, specialists, psychologists, SNCs, physios can't work together? We actually can to help the athlete, and it's all about breaking that narrative. So thank you so much for, being a part of breaking that narrative and creating a new one.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed being here. And thanks so much for those wonderful questions, because I hope someone watches this and actually starts collaborating.
Absolutely.
And whatever has been holding them back, I think they should break free and go ahead and collaborate with other professionals in their respective cities, and a lot more magic will happen when a team comes together.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.